Well, hey, everyone. Happy Friday. So excited to be here with you all. We want to get started as soon as possible. Thank you all for giving me an extra 5 minutes just to get set up, make sure that the stream is working good, looking good. So it gives me a few minutes to kind of just look on my phone and make sure that all is well. But not everybody, but just a few of you, if you could give me a thumbs up and let me know, or shoot a comment and say, audio and video is working, and that way I will know that I don't need to change anything. You can just say, hey, audio and video is good, and that way we know we are ready to go. But until I see that on my screen, how many of you are excited about God's word? I am pumped up. I mean, I've been reading this text all week long, and I am excited about what God is going to do. I mean, his word is so rich and it's so powerful and it's so practical. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. Let's see here. People are giving me thumbs up. That's good. That means we are ready to rock and roll. All right, a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. So a couple of housekeeping things while we're letting a few more people come in. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to give you a little bit of a review of last week, because everybody that is here now may or may not have been here last week. So think about whenever you watch your favorite show, they always kind of tell you what happened before in the previous episode so that you're not completely clueless. And so we want to do that because the Song of Solomon is kind of like a love story that is kind of developing from the first chapter all the way through the 8th chapter. So we need to make sure we know what happened before him. So I'll give you a little bit of a review, and then I'm going to attempt to get through Song of Solomon chapter 1 verse 5 all the way through chapter 2 verse 3 today. And then, as always, we're going to take questions towards the end of our time together. All right. So before we jump in, let's see, where are people coming in from? We got people from the UK. We got people from South Africa. We've got people from the States. We've got people from Atlanta, Georgia. Hotlanta, Barry Miller. Good to see you today, sir. Let's see. We've got people from the Philippines. We've got people from all over, and super excited that you are here to join us today. Okay, a few things. If you want to learn how to study the Bible the way I'm getting ready to show you now, where it's beyond than just reading a verse or two and kind of getting a general idea, but you really want to go deeper in your understanding and really draw out as much as you can from the text, we do have an online course. As you hear me say every week, I believe in it because it's really going to help you take your Bible understanding from just simply reading the Bible to studying the Bible, and that's called Bible Study Made Easy. You can find out about that by going to BibleStudyMadeEasy.com. So you can see that there. Also, if you would like to support us financially, we seldom, if ever, ask for that, and we're not asking for it now because we just simply know that if God puts it on your heart, then you will do that. If not, we're just thankful that you're here. All right, we're just glad that you're here, and we pray that you would support us with your prayers. So, but if you would be so inclined and you want to know how to support us, you can do so by going to alanparr.com/support, or you can start by putting a super chat down below. There's a little $ there if you would like to support us financially. Once again, no pressure. Don't feel like you have to, but if God puts that on your heart, you are able to do that. Also, we have some new t-shirts that we are excited about. The one I'm wearing right now says, "He said what he said, Jesus." All right, we got a couple of other ones. If you are looking forward to purchasing some new merchandise, you can go over to our t-shirt store, the Teespring store. It's in the description of this video and all of our videos, and so you can find out about that there. It's a little bit too long to write down, so just go to the description, click on that, and you can see all of our new t-shirts there. All right, and if you have not subscribed to us already, we want to encourage you to subscribe to us by going over and clicking that subscribe button and hitting that bell notification so that whenever I go live or whenever I release a new video, you will get a notification letting you know that you can check it out. All right, let's see. We got people from Houston, the Philippines, North Carolina, Philippines. We got a lot of people from the Philippines. That is awesome. Awesome. Okay, So we are going to jump in. Fallon says, I love thee. Let's put this on the screen here. Fallon says, I love the Christ over culture t-shirt. Yeah, I wore that last week, I think. I love that. That reminds you that wherever you go, no matter what you do, it's always Christ over culture. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. Okay, we're going to jump in. Okay, we're not going to waste your time today. We're going to jump right on in. But before we do that, we're going to pray. All right. Lord, we thank you so much for this day. We give you praise, honor, and glory. We love you so much. And Lord, we are here because we, number one, want to learn more about your word and how to study it. But number two, God, we want to improve our relationships. We want to be better at this dating and courtship thing. We want to be better at this marriage thing. And we want to be better in all aspects of our lives as we relate to people in general. So God, I pray that you would take the words that are in this amazing book and that you would apply them to our lives, God, so that our lives will be changed forever and our relationships will be better. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, we pray and give thanks. Amen. All righty. So we are going to jump in and let me go to the first one right here. All right, awesome. Today, we're going to be talking about the essential ingredients of a successful relationship or a successful courtship, okay? Because some of these points that we're going to go over today apply a little bit more to the dating and the courtship, but some of them apply to marriage as well. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, it's important for us to understand before we launch into this that this Song of Solomon is Hebrew poetry. It's Solomon's finest poetic work. As a matter of fact, some Bibles have it as Song of Songs. In other words, it's his song out of all the songs that he has done. 1 Kings 4:32 says that he wrote over 3,000 proverbs and over 1,005 songs. So out of all of his songs, this is his best work. This Hebrew poetry in here is so amazing that we're going to see today. All right. So let's review a little bit from last week. There are three primary interpretations of this particular book. Number one, some scholars believe that Song of Solomon is fictional. They'll say, hey, this can't be a real experience in Solomon's life because we realize that Solomon had over 700 wives and 300 concubines, as we're going to see later. So when would Solomon have ever been monogamous with one woman, right? So they'll say, hey, this can't be a real experience for him. So this must be a fictional. In other words, this is a collection of what he feels is the ideal of love, meaning what he may have wanted to experience in his life, but he never actually really got there. So he just wrote down a collection of poems that represented what he felt was the highest ideal of true love. All right, so that's what some people believe in terms of the interpretation of this book. Some people will say it's allegorical. All right, and these are the people that say that, you know what, you can't talk about sex in the Bible because if you read the Bible and there's sex in it, then you're going to lust and you're going to sin, and God would not want you to read his word and sin at the same time. And so as a result, they try to take every single thing in this book that is talking about the relationship between a husband and a wife or a man and a woman, and they try to allegorize it and say, oh, no, that just is really talking about God's love for us, but it has nothing to do with man's love for a woman and vice versa. And we do not subscribe to that particular interpretation. And then the third is that it's historical. This actually was a historical event that happened in Solomon's life. And so some people will feel that it is a historical event. Okay, what our approach is going to be for the purpose of our study is we're going to appreciate this book for what it is. We're not going to try to force any particular one interpretational model into it. We're just going to say that God put this book in the Bible because it's a celebration of love, romance, courtship, and marriage between one woman and one man. That's it. That's what the book is all about, and we're going to appreciate it for what it is. Okay, and who are the main characters? Once again, this is all review. The main characters, number one, the star of the show is a Shulamite woman, okay? And she is referred to in the book as the beloved. And she does most of the talking. She does most of the initiating, as we're going to see today and as we saw a little bit last week. And she is just a poor country girl who is head over heels in love with a rich king, and we will assume he will be Solomon. Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit more about her and how she feels about herself in just a moment. All right, and then the second main character here is the king. We will take this literally and believe that this is Solomon and this is her lover. All right, she refers to him as her lover. And he is also very, very important in the story as well. And then you have the Daughters of Jerusalem. And this is kind of like her little accountability group. This is a group of young ladies that she schools and teaches about the art of love and all these different things. But as we're going to see a little bit later, these are also more than likely a part of Solomon's harem, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. So you're going to find that very interesting. All right. And so these are kind of, this is kind of her sounding board whenever she wants to express herself. And then you have this last group, and they don't show up very often, her brothers and her mother. All right. Now, they seem to act as, they feel their role is to kind of protect their little sister from herself, because she's wild and free and she's in love and she's wanting to explore her sexuality and all these things. And they feel like their role is to kind of protect her so that she does not go overboard with this idea of love, and she's in love. All right. So those are the main characters that we see in this book. Now, last week we gave you a suggested outline. Once again, this book is very, very difficult to interpret and to outline. We're going to say that from 1-2 all the way to 3-5, we're going to call that the courtship or the dating phase, and we'll call that the leaving. Okay. They are leaving home. And then the wedding is a pretty lengthy wedding period at 3-6 all the way through 5-1. All right. And this we'll call the cleaving. All right. They're coming together. But then the marriage in chapter 5, verse 2, all the way through the end of the book, we'll call that the weaving. Because why? The Bible says the two shall become one. And so when you weave together, you run through some difficulties, some disagreements, some struggles in the relationship. And we're going to see that a little bit later if you keep tracking with us every single week. All right. And let's review a few things. Last week we said that this is PG-13. Not this week, but as we progress a little bit later, we're going to get into some very, very descriptive, sensual type of literature that is going to be very, very descriptive in terms of the male and female anatomy and whatnot. So if you have little kids watching this, you're probably safe for this week, but in the weeks to come, you may want to, safeguard them from some of the things we're going to talk about. All right. And then not only that, but let's review part 1 from last week before we jump into the new stuff. All right, last week we talked about the true laws of attraction. And we said that these are some of the things that cause two people, particularly when they're young and they're in love, to be attracted to one another, but really in any stage, right? Number 1, affection. And we said for men, affection is not foreplay. Affection is the art of practicing non-sexual touch, so that the woman doesn't feel that every time you touch her, you are trying to get something out of her, but rather you're just trying to give rather than what you can get. Number 2 is emotional connection. And all of this is summarized in chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. If you didn't catch last week, feel free to go back and watch that later on. Emotional connection is how two people feel attracted to each other, right? Talking, sharing their feelings, feeling safe and vulnerable, and all those different things. Number 3 is hygiene and grooming. We're going to see that throughout the book, right? If you don't smell good, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're limiting the possibility of that person being fully attracted to you in the way that you would want. Number 4 is character. You can smell good, you can look good, you can connect emotionally, but if you don't have great character, then you're not going to be as attracted to that particular person. And then sexual desire, right? I mean, let's be honest. God gave us the gift of sex to be enjoyed in the confines of marriage. And so if you don't have that sexual desire for someone, then you are going to be struggling in marriage because one of you is going to be very disappointed and discouraged about the sex life that you aren't able to have and experience and enjoy in marriage. Okay, All that was review. All right, so let's jump into the new material. Super excited. All right, here we go. All right, we're going to pick up on in verse 5. All right, here we go. Now, ladies, I'm going to start off with you. Here's a lesson for you before we even get into verse 5. Notice what she says. I am dark but beautiful. We're going to get to that in just a moment. O women of Jerusalem, women of Jerusalem. Now, who are these women of Jerusalem? Or your version may say the daughters of Jerusalem. All right, well, most scholars believe that this group of women is a part of King Solomon's harem. Now, there were 3 parts to a king's harem. All right, and number 1, the first part of the harem is the highest level, and that's a queen. The queen, the king actually married these women, and they had all the rights and privileges of being a part of the kingdom. Their children would receive an inheritance of the kingdom. All right, so that's the highest level you can get to, is a queen, where the king actually marries you and your children can get an inheritance. But there was a level below that in every king's harem. And level 2, actually, let me read this. Solomon actually had 700 of these wives. 1 Kings 11:3. He had 700 wives of royal birth. All right. So he had a lot of wives. Now, the second level to every king's harem was concubines. The king did not marry these women. They were skilled in the art of sexual pleasure and served to please the king. They had no ownership of the kingdom, and their children received no inheritance. I'm going somewhere with this, all right? This was the second level of a king's harem, was concubines. Now, how many of these did Solomon have? Well, I know a lot of men would probably love to have Solomon set up, all right? But Solomon had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines. And in fact, they did turn his heart away from the Lord. Now, there was a third level of every king's harem, and that was actually, let me see if I have it here. Okay, so I don't have it here. The third level was the daughters of Jerusalem, or a virgin. And these were ladies who weren't sexual with the king, and these were ladies who weren't married to the king, and all they did was kind of household chores. They cleaned, they cooked, took care of the kids, and all of these different things. They did all of the duties of a wife without any of the privileges of a wife. So I'm going somewhere with this. Basically, the whole point is this. Ladies, never settle for a tier 2 or tier 3 relationship. You are a number 1. You are a queen. You are not a concubine. You are not a slave. All right? Here is one of the problems. We have a lot of ladies out here that are settling to be simply a concubine, just a man's tool or a piece of meat for him to enjoy his sexual pleasure, but he's never going to marry you. He's just using you for what he can get. All right. Or you got some women that are even worse than that, and they're doing all of the duties of a wife. They're cleaning for this man. They're cooking for him. They're bringing him all this food at his job and different things like that, and doing all this stuff, but they're not getting anything out of it. He's not going to marry you. You're not getting sexual pleasure. You're not getting anything out of the relationship. We need to make sure that women are seeing themselves as a number 1, as a queen, and not some concubine and not some slave. All right. So, ladies, you're not a tier 2. You're not a tier 3. You are a queen. All right, here we go. Let's keep going now. Now, we're talking about the ingredients of a successful, healthy relationship. Ingredient number 1 is vulnerability. Vulnerability, being open and transparent and vulnerable with your insecurities and who you are. Notice what the text says here. She says, this is the woman talking, I am dark but beautiful. Let's stop right there. All right. Many scholars will incorrectly interpret this. And in some versions, it'll say dark and beautiful. Why? Because they're afraid of being racist in their commentary. Let me put it to you this way. If I said I am rich and handsome, which may or may not be either one of those, but I'm rich and handsome, then okay, you don't say anything wrong with that. But if I say I'm rich but handsome, that implies that most people who are rich are not. So I have to clarify that even though I'm rich, I'm also handsome. I'm rich but handsome, right? So what she's saying is, yes, I'm dark, but I'm beautiful. I am dark, but I'm beautiful. Now, be careful. The reason why she's not dark, the reason why she's dark has nothing to do with her ethnicity. So that's why I say this doesn't have anything to do with race. She explains how she got dark. Now notice it says, I am dark but beautiful, O women of Jerusalem, dark as the tents of Kedar, dark as the curtains of Solomon's tents. Let's keep going. She says, don't stare at me because I'm dark. The sun has darkened my skin. Do you see that? This is not an African woman. She's more than likely a Jewish woman. So she's not an African. She's not African by descent. She's saying, my skin became dark because I was out in the sun. Why was I out in the sun? My brothers were angry with me. They forced me to care for their vineyards, so I couldn't care for myself, my own vineyard. Understand, in this culture, it was not popular to be a worker. Or should I say, it wasn't looked upon. You were looked upon as poor. If your skin was dark, that means you had to be outside in the sun working. And if you were outside in the sun working as a woman, that was a sign that you came from a very poor family. And so this was her insecurity. It wasn't her race. She was insecure because she was tired of people staring at her. Once again, remember what she says here. She says, stop staring at me, right? Don't stare at me. She was insecure because she felt like everywhere she went, people were staring at her because her skin was dark and they thought that she was poor. And that's what caused her to be insecure about her appearance, all right? Now, there were essentially, notice what she says. She says, I was so busy caring for my vineyards, my brother's vineyards, that I didn't have enough time to care for my own vineyard, my own body, my own beauty, right? She says, I'm working so hard, I don't have enough time to take care of my own self, to make myself look good and feel good and be a feminine woman and all of these things, right? And some of you ladies may feel that way, right? You're just barely hanging on. You're not able to really focus on taking care of yourself because you're so busy working. Now, I want you to notice here her insecurities. She actually has 3 insecurities. Number 1 is her skin was dark. I mentioned that. She's insecure because her skin is dark and she feels like people are going to judge her and feel that she's poor because her skin is dark. Number 2, she is insecure because she feels like people are going to assume that she is poor. And then number 3, she couldn't take care of her own physical appearance. And so that made her insecure as well. Okay. So these are some things that made her feel insecure. All right. Once again, look at this. Don't stare at me. I couldn't take care of my own vineyard. But notice this. She says, even though I am dark, I'm beautiful. What she's saying is, yes, even though I have some things that I'm uncomfortable about, even though I have some insecurities and some things that I don't want people to see and I don't want people to stare at, I can still affirm that I'm beautiful. Here's my point. Can you affirm your own beauty in spite of your insecurities, right? Can you be uncomfortable with some of the things in your appearance, whether it's your hair, whether it's your face, whether it's your physical body or whatever, but still be able to affirm that you are beautiful and created in God's image? That is one of the differences between low self-esteem and insecurity. We all have insecurities, but when that insecurity forces or causes you to not be able to appreciate your own beauty, that is when it becomes low self-esteem, which is not what God would have us to experience. Here's another question. Are you comfortable sharing your deepest insecurities with the person you're with? Once again, this is the idea of vulnerability. It's got to be there. Listen, when you're in a relationship, whether you're single, dating, courting, engaged, marriage, or whatever, you've got to find somebody that you can be open, transparent, and vulnerable with in terms of, these are some things I'm insecure about. And you can't be afraid that this is going to make you feel weak in the eyes of the person that you are dating or married to. Why? Because of this next point that I'm going to make. Insecurity now leads to security later. Let me repeat that. Insecurity now leads to security later. What do I mean by that? I mentioned this last week, when you have secrets, things that you don't feel comfortable sharing with someone, you're insecure in the relationship because you don't know if when you share these things with that person, they are going to turn away from you and not want to be with you. And so as long as you keep them to yourself, you don't have the full confidence and security to know that they're in this for the long haul. But if you are open, vulnerable, transparent with that person, and you're sharing your deepest struggles, your deepest feelings, your mistakes, your failures, your insecurities with that person, and they still stay around, that gives you what? Security to know this person has seen the worst of me. They know the worst of me, and yet they still love me. And it provides a layer of security. All right. So let's move on because I could be there all day. There's a scene change that happens. Okay. So all this stuff that happened before, she's kind of maybe hanging out with her friends. Maybe she's in her bedroom talking to them. She's imagining and being with this king and all of this stuff. Now there's a scene change that actually happens. And essentially what happens is, let's read it. Let's read verse 7. This is a good one. This is a good one. Ingredient number 2 of any healthy, successful relationship is quality time. Notice here, the woman is going to be the one that initiates the quality time. Notice what it says. She says, tell me, my love. And in some versions, I like it. It says, tell me, the one whom my soul loves. It's not just physical. My soul is in love with you. Where are you leading your flock today? Where will you rest your sheep at noon? For why should I wander like a prostitute among your friends and their flocks? Do you see what she's doing? She's like, hey, I want to hang out with you today. I want to spend some time with you. Can you tell me where you're going to be resting your sheep around noon when you take your lunch break? Because I want to see you. I want to be with you. I want to hang out with you. I want to spend quality time with you. I know you're working, but I still want to spend quality time with you. So basically, this is what she says. Tell me where you're going to be at around noon. Don't make me have to ask all of your other shepherd friends where you are and look like I'm chasing you down like some loose woman, right? I want you to get this now. Once again, look back and read it. She says, for why should I wander like a prostitute among your friends and their flocks? She's saying, look, just tell me where you're going to be. Don't make me go around, oh, where is the king? Where is he? Where is he at with his sheep? Where is he at with this, that, and the other, right? Don't make me look desperate. Just tell me where you're going to be, all right? So this is one of the things that she says. All right, so I want to bring up a point here. It is appropriate for a woman to initiate quality time once the commitment is established. Beforehand, let him pursue you and win you, right? Because there's this idea that it's wrong for a woman to initiate. No, everything is right about a woman initiating, but when the pursuit is on towards the beginning of the courtship, you want to let that man win you. You want to let that man pursue you. But once you are committed, there's nothing wrong with a woman saying, hey, I'd like to go to a movie tonight, or I would like to do this or go out to dinner, so on and so forth. Okay. So that's very important for us to understand. Now notice the man accepts her invitation, but he does it in kind of an interesting way. He says, well, if you don't know, O most beautiful woman, notice he affirms her beauty, follow the trail of my flock and graze your young goats by the shepherd's tents. All right, I don't know if you're getting into this story as much as I am, but this is some amazing Hebrew poetry. All right, this is some amazing Hebrew poetry. He doesn't tell her where he's going to be. Notice he doesn't say where he's going to be, but he tells her how she can find him. He basically says, you know what? No, we'll play a little hide and seek. If you want to find me, just follow the tracks of my flock. And if you follow the tracks of my flock, you'll get there. But more than that, notice what he says. and graze your young goats by the shepherd's tents. He tells her, notice this, see, this is Bible study. If you read it, you move too fast. He tells her, don't come by yourself. Bring your young goats with you. Why? Because if you come by yourself, people will probably think that you're just trying to come and chase after me. I don't want them to have that impression of you. But if you come with some goats and you're just simply letting your goats graze along the same side as mine, then people won't assume anything negative about you and your character. Do you see what he's doing? He's trying to protect this woman's reputation and character. So there's a slight satire here, once again, this little back and forth hide and seek, coupled with the man's protection of the woman's reputation. Ladies, you want a man that's going to protect your reputation, not some man that's going to tell everybody some of your secrets, some of the mistakes that you've made, but he's going to protect you so that you still look good in the eyes of other people. So basically, that's what he says. I don't want you to look like that either. So bring your flocks, let them graze by mine so that people won't assume you're coming to see me. All right. So this is what is happening. A godly man seeks to protect the image and reputation of his woman. All right. So brothers, that is our goal. That's what we need to do. All right. Let's keep moving. Full accountability of your time and location is essential to a healthy relationship. Woo, man. We got to talk about this. If you're in a relationship with somebody that doesn't want to tell you where they're going to be and they don't want to be accountable for their time and their location, you need to get away from that relationship because that means they're hiding something from you. Whenever you're in a relationship with someone, you need to be able to be fully open and transparent about where you're going to be so that your significant other knows at any time and at any moment that they can reach you and they know exactly where you are at any time. She said, I want to know where you are at noon. He says, this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to be grazing my sheep. Just follow that path and you'll find out exactly where I'm at. Open and transparent and vulnerable about your time and your location is key for any healthy relationship. Not only that, a healthy relationship has a good balance of time together and time apart. All right. A lot of people feel like you have to spend every waking moment together in a relationship. No, that's crowding that person and not giving them the freedom and time to develop their own interests and desires. A healthy relationship is a good balance of spending quality time together combined with also giving each other space to be by yourself to develop and enjoy some of your other interests. All right, let's keep moving. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's keep moving. All right, this is ingredient number 3, affirmation. Oh, this is good right here. Affirmation. Notice here, I believe this is some of the first time in the book where the man talks, actually in verse 8. Okay, but here is where the man affirms her beauty. He says, you are as exciting, my darling, as a mare among Pharaoh's stallions. How lovely are your cheeks. Your earrings set them afire. How lovely is your neck, enhanced by a string of jewels. All right. Now, brothers, you ever wonder how, okay, I'm going to go with this. You ever wonder how men that the world may not deem as being like super good looking or fine, they can pull these beautiful, fine women? It's because they got game, right? Like they got game. They can like talk. And these are the type of things that women like, particularly in the courtship phase, right? I mean, he's like, your earrings look good. Your cheeks look lovely. Your neck, girl, you so beautiful. You so fine, right? And so he's telling her these things. He's affirming her beauty, right? But notice this. You may say, well, I feel you, Brother Allen, but as a woman, I don't want to be compared to a horse. I mean, what's this all about him comparing her to a horse? All right, don't worry. We're going to explain that in just a second. Now, in another version, it says this: you, my love, excite men as a mare excites the stallions of Pharaoh's chariots. I'm going somewhere, okay? First of all, a mare is a female horse, a female horse. And so this is essentially why he compared. See, let me just go back real quick. Whenever you're reading the Bible, an essential part that I talk about in my Bible course is you have to understand that there's a different culture that they lived in at that time versus where we live in. So you have to work at transporting yourself back to that culture so that you'll say, okay, this means nothing to me today about comparing my wife to a horse, but in that day, what did it mean? And so that is the importance of this. Okay, now let me read this. Horses that pulled chariots were primarily male or stallions, but often in battle, a mare, a female horse in heat, would be released, thus distracting the enemy's horses, allowing the offensive horses to be victorious, right? So if you can imagine this now, you've got two groups of stallion horses. They're getting ready to go into battle. And one side would release a female horse that's in heat. And all the other male horses, whoa, oh man, let's all go after her. And they would all be going crazy, and they were excited, and they were distracted because of this female horse. And that would allow the other group of horses to attack and be victorious. So what is he trying to say? He is trying to say, in the same way that all of these other male horses just get so excited and get so stir crazy and just can't control themselves, and they just get so filled with desire for this one horse, this female horse. That's what you do to me. That is the type of excitement that I'm experiencing in this particular relationship. All right. He says, girl, you are so beautiful that you drive me and all of the other men crazy because we all want to be with you. Just like all the horses want to be with that one female horse that's in heat, in the same way, I want to be with you. Listen, that has to be there, particularly in the courtship phase. If you're not turned on, if you're not attracted, if you're not drawn to this person and they don't do it for you, they don't excite you, then it's not going to be there later if it ain't there at the beginning. All right. All right, let's keep going. So notice here, the man continues his affirmation. He says, not only am I going to tell you that you're beautiful, I'm going to put some action behind it. We are going to make you some earrings of gold and beads of silver. He says, hey, I love your jewelry. You're looking good, right? So I'm going to add on to that. All right. I'm going to make some more jewelry for you because I love how you are looking. All right. All right. So let's keep going here. A godly man, here's the principle, affirms his woman even when she's struggling with insecurities. Whew, man, this is important. Fellas, if you really want to, now let me just say something here. I got to say this. Everything that I'm talking about today, I'm not mastering in my own relationship, in my own marriage with my wife. I need to be clear on that because it can come off as Brother Allen is the master on relationships. I'm just reading the word of God to you. I'm teaching you the word of God. I have to work in all of these areas in my relationship. All of them. Okay. Every single one, which is why I'm so passionate. It's hitting me hard because I'm reading the word and I'm like, I got to get to work. I got to do these things in my relationship with my wife on a regular basis. Now, with that being said, a godly man affirms his woman even when she's not feeling good about herself. Even when she has insecurities about herself, a godly man can speak directly into that woman's life and even potentially into the area of her greatest insecurity so that she will ultimately feel secure in that relationship and in that insecurity. Okay, let's move on because we got a little bit more to cover. There's another scene change. All right, there is a scene change now that's getting ready to happen. And the scene now shifts from outside with the shepherds. Remember, she was out in the shepherds, grazing her flock, hanging out in the middle of the day, a little lunch break, a little lunch midday rendezvous, to inside on his couch. Starting to get closer. Now, to be fair, it is highly possible and likely that she is imagining this entire scene that we're getting ready to talk about. Okay? His words in the previous scene lead her to imagine in this scene. So brothers, if you want to have your woman attracted to you, be careful to choose the words you use. Are you building her up more Or are you tearing her down more with your words? Are you picking at every little thing that she does wrong? Or are you affirming her and encouraging her in the areas that she is thriving in, right? It can make a huge difference in terms of how she responds to you. All right? So let's keep going. All right. Notice verse 12. She is saying, she's imagining this, and this is the fourth ingredient of a successful or a healthy relationship. And this one is probably a little bit more particular to courtship, dating, okay? Intensified desire. Is your desire for this person intensifying as the relationship progresses, or is it going the other direction? Before I go into that, let me just share with you very quickly. Many, many years ago, I was engaged to be married when I was 24, 25. And as I looked at that relationship, my desire for this particular young lady was not intensifying as the relationship was going on. It was dwindling away, which should have been a sign to me that this relationship wasn't what I should have been in, right? But instead, like a fool, I went ahead and stayed in it. I even got engaged. Thankfully, God gave me the wisdom to sever that relationship before it was too late. But the point is, you need to make sure that your desire for that person, particularly at the courtship phase, is intensifying as you are progressing. All right. Now, she says, the king is lying on his couch, enchanted by the fragrance of my perfume. Now, we talked about this last week. Perfume, scent, hygiene, smell, grooming. Super important, right? Fragrances were an extremely significant part of seduction and lovemaking in the ancient Near East culture. Very, very important. And it should be today, right? So much so, check this out. So much so, all right? Do you all remember Esther chapter 2? Whenever Esther was, she was competing, if you will, for who was going to be the next queen, Persia's next top model, as we call it, right? Notice what it says here in Esther chapter 2. As part of her training to learn how to please the king, notice what it says. Before each young woman was taken to the king's bed, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatments. 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. Are you seeing this? Right? Before she could even see the king, she had to learn how to take care of herself. She had to learn how to make herself look the best and to smell. 6 months of just caring for herself, femininity, right? And smelling good, being skilled with oils and spices and perfumes and all of these different things. Ladies, I'm telling you, if you want to attract a man, you need to make sure you give serious consideration to this. I'm just going to keep it raw, right? Every person is not blessed with the same appearance, but every person has the same opportunity to maximize what God has given them. So don't go out the house looking crazy. Don't go out the house smelling crazy, right? Even after you get married, you got to maintain it. You got to keep it up. You can't just look good when the dating phase, and then whenever you get married, you let yourself go, right? You can't do those type of things, right? So 12 months of preparation for beauty treatments and these types of things. Okay, I can say more about that, but let's move on. All right, so now I want you to notice here that she compares him, number one, she talks about her fragrance and how he's enchanted by that. She smells good and she can tell that he is turned on by her fragrance. But number two, notice what she says. My lover is like a sachet of myrrh lying between my breasts. Now, I told you it's PG-13 now. All right, I told you it's PG-13. Here we go. Now, women would often wear a small little sachet or purse filled with myrrh between their breasts at night to intensify the love-making experience so that they smelled good in that area. She is imagining her lover spending the night right there. That's what she's doing. Her desire for him is intensifying. Do you see this? Right? Her interest is intensifying, and she's having thoughts and imagining, just like this little purse of oil that's here is between my breasts all night. Man, I sure wish he'd be there too. All right? There's nothing wrong with that. Listen, we have this mentality in the Christian culture that sexual desire is wrong. It's not. It's right. It just needs to be appropriated at the right time in the confines of marriage, but it is an appropriate desire. All right? Okay. So let's keep going. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Okay. And keep going. And the third thing that she says, he is like a bouquet of sweet henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. Now, that doesn't mean anything to us. That don't mean anything, right? But Bible study, not Bible reading. You got to go deeper. You got to read some commentaries so you can see what this is actually talking about. And it's actually a very deep, significant meaning that we have here. All right. So notice this, a little bit of research. The vineyards of En-Gedi that she's talking about were a refreshing oasis in the midst of a very dry and barren place west of the Dead Sea. She compares him to this type of oasis. Oh my goodness. This Hebrew poetry is amazing. She's basically saying, hey, in the same way that when you're in a desert and it's hot and it's dry and it's barren and there's nothing to drink and you are parched and you see an oasis and you see like, oh man, that's everything I've been looking for. I need to go get that. She says, in the same way that you are refreshed with that oasis, you do that for me. You do that for me. All right. She says, you are my oasis. You are where I can go to get refreshed and nourished. Now, that brings up a good talking point. Brothers, are you that to your woman? Does she see you as a place where she can be refreshed and nourished and encouraged? Or does she see you as somebody that's going to tear her down and throw her back in the dry and barren and parched land, right? Or does she see you as that place where when she's been beat down all day from her job, she can come to you and say, oh, I feel refreshed now. I feel better now because I'm in the arms of my man. He's affirming me. He's building me up. He's encouraging me in the things of God. That's what she wants. She wants to feel that oasis. And people say the Bible is old-fashioned, right? This, my friend, is what Bible study is all about. Here we go. Now let's keep going so this isn't too long. We're at 52 minutes. Another scene change. Scene change. The scene now shifts once again from his couch to the countryside for a romantic getaway. All right? Notice this. Beautiful Hebrew poetry right here. Beautiful. This is ingredient number 5. We got 6 of them. Ingredient number 5, creative romance. We're almost through. Creative romance. Once again, the woman is imagining this, and he talks first. How beautiful you are, my love, how your eyes shine with love. This is the man talking. Now it switches. This is the woman talking. How handsome you are, my dearest. How you delight me. The green grass will be our bed. The cedars will be the beams of our house, and the cypress trees the ceiling. So either she's imagining this, scholars are back and forth. Either she's imagining this or this is a real conversation that they have. He is affirming her, but now she says, let's get outside. Let's go to the countryside and let's just get away. Let's run away. And notice the language that she uses to describe where she wants to go. She says, the green grass will be our bed. Can you close your eyes and imagine this? Can you imagine going out into open field, you and your lover with a nice little picnic, blanket, and laying down in the green grass? That's your bed? Just having a good time, enjoying nature? That's your bed? And then she says, okay, the cedar trees will be like the beams of our house, right? She says, hey, if the grass is our bed, and when we get to the forest, these tall trees are like the foundational beams of our house. And then she says, the cypress trees will be like the ceiling. They hang over and they're going to create some sort of like a canopy. And man, we're just going to have such a great time. We're going to go out and we're going to lay there and we're going to pick flowers and we're going to talk and we're going to enjoy each other and we're going to cuddle and we're going to be affectionate and we're going to enjoy the outdoors and the nature and just being around each other. Listen, this is where many of us get it wrong, myself included. If I can be transparent with you, we don't do any creative romance anymore. And most of the time it's on the man. The woman wants to, right? But we don't. Why? Because oftentimes when a man gets married, his focus shifts from pursuit to provide. Let me repeat that. When a man gets married, his focus often shifts from pursuit to provide. We did all that stuff when we were dating. We wrote poetry, we wrote cards, we did all this stuff, right? But something happens when we get married. Our focus shifts. Now, wait a second. Now I got to provide for this woman. I don't have time to pursue her anymore. And then the woman's romantic side just dies because the man does not get creative in his ability to romance his woman. This woman wants to go outside and enjoy the grass and take a walk and just have a picnic, right? We need to continue to do those things even in marriage. All right, I'm almost done. The scent of the grass, the cedar trees, and the cypress trees make this a perfect romantic rendezvous. All right, here we go. Let's keep going. Successful, healthy relationships find new, creative ways to keep the spark alive in their relationship. We got to find new ways to keep the spark alive or the spark is going to go out. Okay, let's keep moving along. This is the last one, and I'm going to open it up for questions. So hang with me. Appreciate it. Ingredient number 6. I love this. Of a healthy relationship or healthy courtship, a unique love. A unique love. Now notice this. How does the woman see herself? How does the woman see herself? This is how she describes herself in verse 1 of chapter 2. I am only a wild flower in Sharon, a lily in a mountain valley. She said, I'm just a common flower. I'm just like all the other girls. Nothing really special about me. Why would he want me? I'm just a normal common flower amongst all the other flowers, right? That's how she sees herself. That's not how he sees her. Excuse me. The man sees his woman in this way. He says, no. Let me slow you down. Let me correct you. You're like a lily among thorns, is my darling among women. He says, when I look at you, baby girl, when I look at you, you stand out as a lily and all the other girls look like thorns. Compared to all the other girls, you are a lily and they are thorns in my eyes. Do you see that? There's something special about this woman. There's something unique about how he feels about her. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Before I met my wife, I dated several women before I met her. And I never, ever felt this way. I never felt that they were unique to me. I never felt like there was something so special about them as compared to all the others. And that's how I knew that my wife was the one, because the way I felt about her was different than any feeling I ever felt about anybody else, all right, along with many other reasons as well. Okay, but now it's not just him affirming her. Let's keep going. Notice how the woman sees her man. She says, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my dearest compared to other men. She says, okay, we two can play that game. If you think I'm a lily among thorns, I see you as an apple tree among all the other trees in the forest. Imagine if you saw a forest filled with trees, and you went and you were like, wow, that's an apple tree. I didn't expect to see that. He stands out to her. That's the whole point. He stands out to her. And so, once again, if we are going to have a courtship that is going to lead to a great relationship, a great marriage, it's very important for us to have a unique love. So the love that you have during the courtship and marriage should be unique compared to how you feel about anyone else. That's the key. All right. That is the idea. All right. And, okay. So that's all we got for today. All right. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now let's checkpoint. Let's go back and let's check. I want you to ask yourself some honest questions. How are you doing in these 6 areas of your relationship? Be honest with yourself, as I've had to do all week, and rate yourself 1 to 5, 1 to 10. How are you doing in the area of vulnerability? Rate your relationship. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you can be open and transparent and vulnerable with the person that you're with, even if you're married? Even in your marriage, do you feel like you can be open and share the deepest things that you're going through? Or do you feel like you have to go to other people, your girlfriends, or God forbid, somebody else of the opposite sex at the job or in the church or whatever? Or do you feel like you can go to your significant other and be vulnerable? You want to rate that. Number 2, quality time. Are you and your significant other making an intentional, conscious effort to spend time with one another? Or are you allowing all of the other pressures of life to come in and keep you from spending time with one another, thus building your emotional connection with one another? Or let me go the other direction. Are you spending too much quality time together to where everything else in your life is suffering? All your relationships are suffering. Your work is suffering. Your ministry is suffering because all you want to do is be around that person all the time. It's got to be a balance. Number 3, affirmation. This is huge, and it goes both ways, male to female, female to male. How are you doing at using your words to build up the other person in your relationship? Are you using your words? Are you telling him, honey, I believe in you. I believe in your dreams. I believe in what you're doing. I thank you that you are the provider and the priest and the prophet and the pastor of our home. I thank you for being a good father. I thank you for being a loving husband. I thank you for being a man of integrity and godliness. Are you telling her, I think you're beautiful. I appreciate how you're taking care of the kids. I appreciate how hard you work for our family. I appreciate how you support me in the dreams and visions that I have for my life. Are you using your words to affirm your significant other? Number 4, intensified desire, particularly as a courtship. Is your desire increasing or decreasing for this person? Number 5, creative romance. Have you let your relationship just get stale to where you're not doing anything, just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, washing the dishes, taking care of the kids, going to work, coming home? Or are you spicing it up a little bit, doing something different? Switch up the scenery, do a little something different, just so you can keep that spark alive. And then number 6, unique love. Do you see this person as being completely and totally unique compared to everyone else on the earth? These are the 6 ingredients that I see from this text of a healthy, successful, thriving courtship and relationship. Okay, I'm done. That's an hour. All right. And we're only in chapter 2, verse 3. That's it. All right. We got 7 more chapters, 2 through 8. Now we're going to pick up some ground over the next couple of weeks. We're not going to be here all year. All right. But you can see how rich this is. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. Hopefully you got a lot from it. I want to take some questions now. And by the way, I'm looking off of the camera because my computer is right here and I need to be able to look at these questions so that I can put them on the screen. Now, if you did ask a question earlier, I didn't see it, obviously. So if you have a question, would you do me a favor of asking that question again so that I can put it on the screen and I can answer your questions? Sadly, my wife isn't going to be able to be with us this week because she's working. She has an important presentation to do at her job, but just continue to pray for her, as she's balancing motherhood and being a wife and supporting her husband and working full time as well, which some of you know that can be difficult. Carlos says, this guy needs to be a pastor. God bless you, Carlos. Thank you so much, man. You are a blessing, man. Thank you so much. I feel like I am a pastor. I'm an internet pastor, right? Thank you so much for that. Okay. Okay, I'll be honest with y'all. I'm gonna put my glasses on because I can't see. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Here's a good one. No, I'm gonna take this off. I don't like it. Should teenagers date? If so, when should they start dating or courting? Oh man, great question. Great question. Okay, let me answer that. Um, First of all, let's talk about the difference between dating and courtship. I have a whole video on my YouTube channel that you definitely need to watch. The difference between dating and courtship. And I'm going to give you one point that I talked about last week. Dating is recreational, courtship is intentional. Dating is I'm just about having fun. Courtship is we're going in a certain direction. We're moving, we're going somewhere. There's an intent behind this. And so you want to make sure that you are courting and not dating, because when you date, you get in trouble because you date this person, then you date that person, date this person, you get your heart broke, and you start breaking other people's hearts as well. Now, can you get to know somebody in high school? Yes, you can. Two things. It should first and foremost be at the approval of your parents because you're still living under their roof. And number two, the best situation is to date or court, should I say, in the context of groups, other friends. Hang out with other groups of friends. And then number three, keep it public and not private. Don't spend a whole lot of time parked in a car or, in close proximity. Like, be out in public, go out to Starbucks together, go out to the mall together, movies, different things like that, because you will keep yourself from getting in trouble. There's a lot of people that are mature enough to be able to date even in high school, and then sometimes they stay with that person through college and end up getting married. So I'm not going to say it's wrong, but just run that by your parents and make sure that you're courting in a way that is appropriate and godly. Good question. All right. Okay, here's another good question. I'm going to try to do these quick. How do I know if I should get married? Okay, pretty simple. If you're a man and you have a sexual desire, you need to get married. That's as simple as that. Because if not, you're either going to A, be struggling the rest of your life with your sexual desire, or B, you're going to be fornicating for the rest of your life, where you have to now decide, I'm just going to be a sinner. I'm just going to be a fornicator because I can't control myself. Why would you want to purposely choose to be a fornicator when God has this gift of marriage for you if you take it more seriously and get, and pray and ask God to show you who this woman is that he has for you. So if you're a woman and you have a desire to have children and all these things, then, and you have sexual desire as well, because it goes both ways, then you need to be serious. You know that you should be married. So that's a good question right there. Shalana says, loved it. Thank you so much, Shalana. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. Let's see. Good one. Bella says, have you guys ever heard of the gift of singlehood? Yes, Paul talks about that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. He says each person has their own gift, some like me being single and others the gift of marriage. The gift of singleness is someone who is not constantly distracted with sexual desire, and they're able to completely and totally give themselves to serving God in his kingdom. All right. Very few people have that gift, but some people do. They don't want to be married. They don't want to have children. They're not distracted constantly all day, every day with their sexual desire. They're able to tame that. It doesn't mean they're asexual. It just means that they're not distracted by it, and they can successfully live as a celibate Christian, as a single celibate Christian. And these are people that can devote themselves 100% to the kingdom. So yes, there are people that have that gift. Oh man, sassy question. Why is this not taught more in church by pastors? I don't know. This book, matter of fact, how many of you, I'm going to ask this question and just leave it in the comments. How many of you have ever seen how many of you have ever heard a sermon at any point in your life from the book of Song of Solomon? I would probably venture to say very few of us have, right? Because we hardly ever hear anyone preaching from this book, and yet it is amazing. We're just getting started. There is so much more in this book. I hope you tune in every single week because there's so much more that you guys we're gonna get into. I'm not sure why though. Okay, all right. Here we go. Where do you find Christian men? And what is too long to date or court before marriage? Man, I love these questions. Diamond, great question. We're going to answer that. Okay, where do you find these Christian men? First of all, I would start with your church group because more than likely the guys there that are involved in your singles group or your church group are already, under the same teaching that you are. You can be assured that they're, at least Christian for the most part. You can probably assume that. That doesn't mean that they're not going to mistreat you, but at least you can be assured that they are a Christian. And also you'll have more of an opportunity to meet other guys. Now, you got to be careful not to just date around, but, you got to be careful with that. Now, another place that you can go is online. Look, I dated online whenever I was single. I went to eHarmony. I went to, Christian Mingle, different sites. Okay, I tried to stay away from like Tinder and stuff because, at the time it wasn't really that big of a deal. But there's nothing wrong because if you go to work, church, home, work, church, home, and all three of those places, you're not finding the people or not being engaging with the people that you really want to be with, then you may have to do something different. Try something different. Switch it up. And you may meet somebody online. There are couples today that are happily married, that have children and all that met online. Online, there's no shame. It's just a way. It's a different way to make an introduction with two different people. You still have to take it from there. Now, what is too long to date or court before marriage? I would say, this varies, but I would say as a general principle, a year. I think a year is a long enough time to let the initial infatuation of that person kind of wear off to where you're not just marrying them because you're infatuated, but you've seen that person in a variety of different seasons, all 4 seasons, and you're able to assess, okay, it's a year now and I'm still pretty super excited about this person. Because if you go with just how you feel in the first 2 months, man, you know how many times I've been excited about a girl after a month or two? Like that happens all the time. But let the test of time pass a little bit so that you can assess whether this is somebody you really want to spend the rest of your life with. All right, good question. Let's see. I don't even read this one yet, but let me read it. Sam says, "Hi, Alan. Most of us, me included, have decided in our heart who we want to pursue in our hearts. When we pray regarding God's direction, we wish just for God's confirmation, not direction. Help." Okay, I think what you're asking is how do you get that confirmation from God that this person is really the one that you want to be with? Okay, so I'll be honest with you. A large part of it is your desire. God has given us all natural desires and preferences, and you have every right to have those preferences, right? So do you like this person? Let's not over spiritualize it. Do you like them? Do you like being around them? Do you have fun? Do they do it for you? Are you excited around them? This is why marriage is not just a Christian institution. Unbelievers can be married and happily married as well because it's a simple thing. Do you like being around them? And then number 2, has God confirmed it with other people? Preferably your parents, but that's not always the case. So you can't go by that all the time. But hopefully those who love you will have affirmed that, yes, I feel like this person is somebody that is good for you because we've known you your whole life. And therefore, we know kind of what you like and what you don't like and what's good for you. So we think that this is good for you. And then how do you feel in your spirit over time? Do you feel a sense of peace about this person? And at some point, you got to just pull the trigger, step out there and say, hey, I'm going to do it. From everything I have in terms of my knowledge, I feel this person loves the Lord and I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger. Okay. Okay. Francis says, what if a girl is too closed up in church? I'm not sure if you could clarify that a little bit more. I would appreciate that. Kenny, good question. How can you use these techniques for a long distance relationship? You can be creative romantically because if you see that person every so often, which you should, you can be creatively romantic whenever you see that person. My wife and I, when I would go to DC and visit her, because we dated long distance for a year before we got married, we would walk, we would go out to dinner. I would cook for her. She would cook for me, right? I wrote her letters, wrote her poetry. I would sing songs to her and I'd record them on my phone and I would text them to her in the middle of the day. So when she's at work and she saw this text come through, oh, my baby's thinking about me, right? There's all sorts of ways. You just got to get creative, okay? You got to get creative. All right, good question. Let's see here. Frankie says, this was really good. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much, Frankie. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Let's see here. Oh, good one. What are your comments on silent treatment in a relationship? Yeah, if you are dating somebody that gives you the silent treatment, which is the idea that, I'm going to punish you because you hurt me. I'm going to punish you by just withdrawing and being silent, and I'm going to force you to have to beg me for forgiveness. That's a very immature way of handling conflict. And if you see that now, multiply times 100 in marriage. Whatever you see on this side of marriage is in the courtship, multiply times 100 when you get married, because things are only going to intensify. So you need to make sure that you're clear on that. Okay. Bella said, nope, don't want the gift of singleness. I feel you, Bella. I didn't want it either, and God didn't give it to me. So praise the Lord. I feel you on that. All right. Here's a good one. Let me see. How do I go about when the guy does not want to pursue and he is the one? Or thinks he wants to pursue you but is just afraid or timid? Okay. Number one, how do you know he's the one? That's the first question I would ask. Because if you know he's the one but he doesn't know he's the one for you, then that could be a problem. Number two, do you want somebody that is so timid and fearful of pursuing you that he's not doing it? Is that the type of man that you want to spend the rest of your life with? Someone who's not confident in himself to be able to pursue you. Number three, if you feel like he's a little bit timid and whatever, give him a little nudge. Encourage him a little bit, right? Let him know in some special, unique way that you're interested. And maybe that'll give him the green light to get over some of the fears that he may have. Okay, we're going to try to hit some of these in rapid fire fashion. Good question. Here we go. Stephanie said, I really enjoyed that. This encouraged me to initiate quality time with my husband. Yes, Stephanie, my wife and I are struggling with that right now. She works full time. I work full time. I've got a ministry, this ministry on top of my business that takes up a lot of time. And we've got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Time for us is just not there right now. And as a result, we're struggling to maintain that emotional connection as much as we both would like because of the lack of time. So it's important for us to make sure that we get that in there. Very good point. All right. Let's see here. Okay. How to deal with a previous unbeliever crush who still likes me. A great guy, but God said no. What kind of wisdom should I use in communication? I don't want to waste an opportunity to bring him to God. Yeah, so this is called, the whole missionary dating thing. You don't want to date somebody trying to bring them to God. Encourage them to go and get connected with other people who are, Christians, particularly same sex. But if they're a non-believer, steer clear away from that in terms of trying to have a relationship with them. Because if you like them and they like you, there's going to be tempted whenever you feel lonely to be in a relationship with them. And that is going to pull you away from God, but ultimately keep you away from the person God does eventually have for you if you were to yield in this particular area of your life. So that's what I would say there. We're going to take 10 more minutes of questions, and that way this will be a 90-minute live stream. All right, let's see here. Oh, thank you so much for the super chats. You all are a blessing. For all of you who gave me a super chat, thank you so much. All of your super chats really do help this ministry move forward to provide for all of our expenses. Okay, I don't know if you all know, but we've got about 4 or 5 people on our staff that we pay every month. It's not just a solo thing. I got a graphic designer, a video editor, um, an intern, a community care manager, and we're getting ready to hire a social media manager as well. And all of them deserve to be paid and compensated. All right. And so thank you for your help and for your support. It is much appreciated, as well as all the different furniture, lighting, and microphone, and all the stuff that we have going on. It costs money. And so I appreciate that, Leslie. Thank you so much. Um, oh, what are some things to help with quality time? Scheduling it and being intentional about it. If you do not schedule it and you're not intentional about it, as I'm seeing now, it doesn't happen. You can't hope for it to happen. You can't think and wait for a time when it's going to be free. You have to make it happen. You have to say, okay, we're going to babysitter. We're going to have somebody watch these kids because we're going out to eat. We're going to go and take a walk in the park. We're going to do this. And he has to be on your calendar and you have to schedule it out. That's the only thing that's going to work. Okay, let's see. I'm just going through as many as these can. What to do if you know a couple who is married but don't get along very well? I'm not sure if I understand that in terms of what to do. So you may want to rephrase that. If you know they don't get along very well, I'm not sure about that. Okay. Here's a good one. Gideon says, they say it is improper to pursue a man. Should women pursue or meet at the middle like Rebecca, right? I don't think women should pursue. Here's why. If a woman pursues a man, then she will always be wondering whether that man is with her because of her pursuit and her push. She'll always be wondering, did I kind of force him to be with me when he really didn't want to at the beginning, really, right? But when you let a man pursue you, you will know, okay, he's with me not because I forced him to or put a gun to his head or just constantly try to hold his hand throughout the whole process. He came after me, which will always affirm in my heart that he was interested in pursuing me. All right. So that's what I would say there. Okay. All right. Let's read this from Daniel. How do you think that the things about the fancy jewelry here fit into the ideas elsewhere in the Bible, like 1 Timothy, not with elaborate hairstyles? Okay, good. So reading 1 Timothy, if you read it, 1 Timothy 3, it says, do not let your beauty only be an outward appearance, right? So in other words, don't just focus all of your efforts and attention on how you look on the outside without giving it proper attention to what's going on the inside. But nowhere does it say you shouldn't adorn yourself with jewelry and, whatever you feel like you need to do to make yourself look good. It just says, don't do that at the expense of focusing on the inside. Good question. Okay. Okay, Andy. Dear Alan and anyone else, I am struggling with pornography and masturbation and just wanted to confess. My name is Andrew, but that was kind of obvious. Yeah. Andy, a lot of men are struggling with this, and I highly encourage you to work through that before you get into a relationship so that you're not going to make that woman feel like you're choosing or you desire pornography over her, because a lot of women are going to feel that way. All right. I want to really encourage you, send us an email at info@alanparr.com because we have a coupon code we can send you for 30 days free of Covenant Eyes. You may have that already, but if you have filtering software on your computer and your phone and all your devices that keep you from going to certain sites, blocking those sites, as well as other people that you can choose as accountability partners, it makes a huge difference because now you're going to have to, it's just a second layer of protection. Now you have to think long and hard about whether you're going to go to that particular site if you know that someone near and dear to you is going to see on their report what you did. So send us an email on that, info@alanparr.com. Good question, Andy. We're praying for you there. Okay, here we go. Okay. Blue Torpedo, we did answer that question a little bit earlier about how to know when you got married. Let's see here. Let's go down a little bit further. Okay, yeah, let's keep going. Oh, here's a good question. Kata loves resets. What if you don't feel any sexual desire anymore with your fiance and you know you're going to get married with him, so that can affect your marriage? Ooh, man. Yeah. You need to investigate that. You need to be very honest. You need to look into what's happening there. Okay. Because, you need to, because when you get married, that's the first thing that's going to be coming up is, they're going to have a desire for sex. And if you don't have that desire, that can be devastating to your fiance. And, um, and then you can't get out of the marriage. So now basically they're stuck in a marriage for the rest of their life with someone that doesn't desire them. If you're engaged, I don't care how long you've been engaged, never be afraid of postponing or calling that off. Even if people have bought tickets to your wedding, you put money down on a venue, because getting married is serious. It is serious. And if you're already feeling like you've lost a sexual desire for your fiance and y'all haven't even gotten married, that's an issue. Now, along those lines, you need to investigate why you've lost it and whether you can get it back. Because if it was there at one point, that means you can get it back. It can be there again. So you need to explore, what was it that may have happened in this relationship? Is it a disconnect that we're having? Is it hormonal? Is it something going on? Am I depressed? What's going on with me that has caused me to not feel this way about this person anymore? But if you've never really had the hot fire for them, that's an issue. So either way, I would postpone the wedding before you ruin that person's life, sex life, should I say, and figure out what's going on and why you're not feeling that. All right. Good question. Let's see. We're going to take two more. Okay. Well, this one is a quick one. Is it okay if you're married but don't want kids? Absolutely, it's okay. There's no sin about that. Not a problem there. Let's see here. All right, I had somebody tell me the same thing, Kyla. I had a pastor say it doesn't matter if I'm physically attracted to a man or not, as long as he can provide for me. Does God care if I'm physically attracted to someone because I do? Yes, he does. That's the whole purpose of this study. Do you see this woman in this book? Does it look like she just doesn't have a physical attraction? She longs for him. She thinks he is amazing. And I think God put this book in the Bible to show us what it's supposed to be like, right? If you don't have physical attraction for a guy, you are, as I said last week, you're robbing him and yourself of the gift of sexual pleasure. You're robbing him because you're going to get married and he's going to quickly find out that you're not attracted to him. And then you're also robbing yourself of the gift of sex. And I'm going to say this, and I hope he's not watching. I've got a friend of mine, a very dear friend, who's been married for over 10 years, and they've not had sex one time in 10 years because his wife does not want to have sex with him. I don't know if it's an issue from her past or it's an issue where she's not attracted to him or not. Okay, yes, I'm going to start seeing some crazy faces here on the comments, but it's true. He wouldn't lie to me. He's told me that over 10 years ago when they got married, they never consummated their marriage. They tried one time, like within the first week or so, didn't work, something didn't work or whatever. And never since then, not one time have they had sex over 10 years. And he is struggling. He loves the Lord, but doesn't know what to do with his sexual desire and does not want to get divorced. This is why this is important. You need to deal with these sexual issues before you get married so you don't ruin someone else's sexual life. This is a gift from God, a gift from God. All right. All right. Let me see what you all's response was to that. All right. Okay. We're going to take one more question. All right. Oh, Here's a good one. What do you think about kissing in courtship? Yeah, I would say that, it's going to it could lead to other behavior. So you need to be very careful about that. I'm not going to be one of these super spiritual people and be like, don't kiss when you're courting. I mean, if you can hold out and not, that's great. But you just have to maintain certain boundaries, and you have to say, okay, I don't know, from the neck down is off limits. All right. So we'll kiss. And even then, you got to be very careful that these kisses are not constantly causing you to have feelings of lust, because then you're sinning with lust. So this is the reason why I recommend being intentional about courtship, dating for a shorter period of time, maybe 6 to 8 months, assessing from every level where this relationship is, dating in community, letting other people assess how they think your relationship is, and then making a move towards engagement, and then having a short engagement, 3 to 6 months, and then getting married, because there's too much sexual desire during the courtship phase, and you don't want to risk falling into sexual sin before. So those are my thoughts. Okay, so good questions today. All right, tune in next week. All right, if I didn't answer your question, I apologize. I did the best that I could to get through as many as I could. Tune in next week. If you want to get ahead, you start reading in Song of Solomon chapter 2, verse 4, and maybe read chapters 2 and 3. And let's see how far we can get next week. And hopefully my wife will be able to join me next week as well. I'm not sure if she'll be able to, because she does work during this time. She was off last week. So thank you all so much for your support. Once again, if you want to learn how to study the Bible to this depth, if you want to take it to another level, and you want to learn how to do what I was able to do today, just taking a few verses and taking them apart, I teach all this in my course. I teach you exactly how to do this. All right. It's $97, but listen, that's the price of a nice dinner. A nice dinner. You can go to dinner and waste that in one night. It's gone. This is an investment for the rest of your life. I learned this stuff 20 years ago, and I'm still using it every single day of my life. This is an investment. Do not let $97 keep you from learning how to study the Bible. I promise you, you'll love it. If you don't, in 30 days, we'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. Okay? So it's a win-win for you. All right. Once again, if you would love to support us financially, you can do that by going to alanparr.com/support. We would appreciate your gifts. But we understand if you're not able to give, we just appreciate the gift of your presence and your prayers as well. God bless everybody. Thank you so very much. And if you haven't subscribed to us, go ahead and go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Press that bell so you'll know of when we are releasing new videos. All right. I love you all. Looking forward to next week. We're just getting started. God bless. Bye-bye.